you for joining me here on So Stitch Hex. Today, I'm going to be talking about the costs of magic and the idea of consent in magic. So, when people do magic, they typically harp on not impeding on someone else's will. But that's not the only thing that it costs when you do magic. Like, people think when I say I do love magic or that I do curses, that I'm just this person who's going around willy-nilly spelling people, who is just curse happy, and that is just generally not caring about the welfare of others and just does whatever. But when I do love magic, I generally only do one of two things. I make myself happier because happy people attract more people. That's just how that is. I do something that's like self-love, I do self-care, something that is a confidence booster, stuff like that. That makes me a happier person. It makes me love myself more because then other people like you when you're happy. Because people don't want to sit around with someone who's just sad all the time. And then when I do like relationship magic, it's generally like reveal the problems, increase communication, make a decision, attract someone that meets these parameters. I'll make a list of what I want, but I don't list a person specifically. I just list what I want and ask the universe for that. That's not impeding on any specific person. The universe just sets it up so you can run into the person who meets those parameters. If you think that's impeding on someone else's will, well, that's your problem. Oh well. And then you have people who will say, well, I just asked for like a car. I asked for a car. It's like, okay, well, how does that not cause problems to you? I mean, think about it. The car isn't free. Someone had to go and make each part. Then someone had to put the parts together to make the whole car. Someone had to spend all their time testing it to make sure your car's not going to fucking explode. You had people who had to promote your car. They had to make sure it looked good. The whole design process before they even made the pieces. So many different aspects to just produce the car, and you just want a car. You don't think that's a big deal. So many people spent their lives producing those pieces. I'm sorry, I can't just like not yawn. Apparently that's like not a thing. Yawning is my default, I guess. But like, it's not free. Nothing is free. They'll tell you things are free, but nothing is free. Something's going to cost someone, even if it's not you. When you do magic, it's the same way. It can cost you time. It can cost someone else time. Just because you want a new car doesn't mean that, like, if you want a used car, someone else has to give up their car or lose their car. Someone else, if they get a new car, they have to have the money to get that car. So it's not just you getting a car now. It's the used car that's perfect for you, that you want, that you need to get from someone else who needs to first give it up. There's so many different pieces that fall into place for you to get what you want. People who act like praying for someone, they don't need consent. They just pray for random people. Like, they're like, oh, this is happening. I want you to pray for them. You also have people who are like crazy that still think you can pray the gay away, who think you can pray for this and pray for that, and like they're praying for things that the other person doesn't want, and no one asks their consent if they want you to pray for them. I personally, if you talk down about me, if you talk about me at all and I don't like it and you don't stop, if you're disrespectful to me, I don't want your prayers. I don't want your good vibes. I don't want your magic. I want you to keep my name out of your mouth is what I want. You have to ask before you pray about someone, unless they're causing you a problem and you're praying to your God to make them stop. That's a completely different thing. I'm not trying to give you anything. I'm trying to get you the fuck away from me. And I think that's different, because you don't have to ask consent from your abuser to tell them to fuck off. You can just tell them to fuck off and then find someone else to help you make them. That works too. And then, like, when you get consent, it's just like in Reiki. When you practice, they tell you, get consent before you send Reiki. Yes, it will find where it needs to go. It will only go where it needs to go, but you should still ask before you do the Reiki. That's why people ask before they do other things. You say like, oh, it's not a big deal, but then you're not. people don't ask before they make assumptions about you. They don't ask before they start praying about you or they give you prayers. It's like, yes, I have this problem, and so I posted about it here and asked for prayers. But then I forgot to mention that if you're talking mad shit or if you're being like a bitch, I don't want your prayers. I thought that was clear. You know, like when you want help from someone, you can ask. If you want to help someone, you can ask. But you shouldn't just assume. And I feel like that's something that people don't bring up in magic. It's not just consent of, oh, I'm doing a spell for this person because they asked me to. It's, you also shouldn't pray for this person, I don't believe, if they don't want it. If you don't know if they don't want it, maybe you could ask. It's one thing to pray about a problem, too. That's different. Let's pray about this particular people that are having a struggle right now, that are dealing with starvation, they're dealing with, like, militant forces in their home. Like, you can straight up, obviously, pray for that situation. But if you know someone personally and you're just doing magic deliberately for their good for them, just like you see it in movies all the time. The person is like, oh, they're having really bad luck, and they do a luck spell, and it causes someone else to have a shitty day so that this other person can benefit. You didn't really ask if that person wanted help. You just did it. Sabrina is totally bad about this in, like, the old Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Yeah. Not the new Adventures of Sabrina. I love that one, though. But, like, people don't bring this up. And then they bring up, like, if you're... They bring up the Wiccan read. And they're like, well, you're curse happy. It's like, no, you can be hex positive. I'm definitely hex positive. That is being... Basically, it's like being pro-choice. Pro-choice doesn't advocate for the murder of babies. You're a dumbass if you think so, and you can fucking delete me. I don't care. Go away. If you're pro-life, that means you only see the one side. You think it's murder, and it's like you're not seeing the full scope of the situation. Saying somebody is curse happy when they're just hex positive is the same thing as saying, like, not knowing that there's other sides to the situation. Like, you can hex your abuser. I'm not going to ask their permission, and I'm not going to be worried about backlash, because any god that thinks you defending yourself is bad and is going to send the energy back at you times 3 because you defended yourself, fuck that god, you need a new one. Any person that thinks that defending yourself against psychological attacks or social, like, injustice or against bullying and name calling, if they think that that is a problem, they can go fuck themselves. Put yourself right in the dumpster and set it on fire. Boom, you're at home. You can curse people and you can hex people. It is your self-defense. If somebody hits you, I expect you to hit them back or call the cops, whichever you think is going to get the best results. I might not call the cops. If they hit me first, I'm going to beat their ass and then call them an ambulance to take them. Because then, 1, I'll call the police too, of course. This was self-defense. But 2, now they have to pay for the ambulance. That's their problem. Like, don't just let someone beat you up. Defend yourself. If you can't do it, if it's not like a physical attack, if it's a psychological attack, if it's attacking the community that you're in or attacking your image, fucking fight back. If somebody is telling lies or treating you poorly, fight back. Say something. If they won't do anything about it, I don't care if you use magic or if you just cut them out. It's your choice, but don't just, like, you need to have more respect for yourself. And I think using your magic to your benefit and for your protection is part of that respect. If you can't give yourself the, like, space that you need and have the energy to defend yourself, if you use magic, ask for help from your deities, protect yourself. Be hex positive. Don't shame someone else for using their magic in self-defense. Being passive aggressive with magic is just as bad. Saying, I only bless those around them. I don't curse people. That's just passive-aggressive witchcraft, and that's definitely a spell of exclusion, because you're blessing everyone around them, and you're ignoring them. You have to actually, like, put some thought into it, just a little bit of like, I don't know, logic and reason, think about it. If you go into a classroom of 10 kids and you give 9 of them a cookie, and you don't give one of them a cookie and tell them they're not allowed to share with that one's not going to be helped. They're not cursing that one child, they're just blessing the others. If you don't see the problem in that, then I have no idea how to help you. That's the kind of point of the curse of exclusion, by blessing everyone around someone. It's passive-aggressive witchcraft, and it is very, I think it's cheap curses. It's definitely not a good curse. There are good curses. There's the blatant ones, like, I don't know, fuck someone's communication up so that everything gets like wired, cross, or whatever. I don't know. I know a lot of curses. I don't use very many curses. Usually I tailor them to the individual. You fucked me over in this way. Here you go. Here's the equivalent thrown back at you because fuck you. That's kind of how that works. I'm a big advocate for fight for yourself. If you can't, someone else can, but you need to ask. You need that help. And so, with consent in magic, I don't believe you need consent to fuck up your abuser or to fuck up someone who's treating you bad, disrespecting you, and won't take no for an answer. I don't think that's bad. With magic, I do think you need consent to do positive magic. Don't just do it. Sometimes you can just do it if it's minor, and if, like, when I just do it, I put in the caveat that if they are not accepting of this, don't fucking do it, just disappear. And that's usually like a little caveat that I put on spells, just like when I put on a spell on curses. If this is unjust, then bring it back at me just as I've put it on them. Because I call it the key your car mentality. Or key your own car mentality. So it's like, if I'm going to hit someone because they hit me first, I won't throw the first punch, but you should always throw the last. If I'm going to hit someone because they hit me first, I have to be ready for them to hit me back. Because I don't expect them to take the hit, and I don't expect me to take the hit. So it's like key your own car. Yeah, you're ready for this crazy shit to come back and hit you. And the key your own car mentality comes from this crazy lady that was like a comedian or something, or someone was making fun of this crazy lady. They were freaking her out, right? And so she gets out of the car, and it's a crazy white woman, of course. And she keys her own car, and it's like, come at me. And it's like, we messed with the wrong lady. We are so sorry. And they back away and leave. It's kind of like that. Always know that I'm ready to key my own car if it's going to make you go away. Leave me alone. Stop. And that was the kind of idea behind that. She did this out of self-defense. It made her seem crazy, and she left. But it's kind of like that same idea with magic. It's like, here's the caveat. I'm willing to take whatever gets thrown back at me if I'm unjust in my defense, but I'm still going to fucking hit you. Like, I'm not scared. And that's the idea there. And since I'm Hex-Positive, I think it's fun to explain this, since I'm not curse-happy, and I don't want you to be curse-happy. I want you to think things through. The last time I cursed someone was, like, 7 or so months ago. I don't know. I haven't looked on the calendar. Or 8 months ago. And before that, it was 6 months, but prior to that, that was like a little hex thing. It was like a little jar. Just to make them leave me the hell alone, because they were so rude all the time. And then I do positive magic for people, but if someone decides that they don't want it anymore, or that they didn't want it, I take it back. Because sometimes people change their minds, and if they change their level of consent, then bring your energy back. I had to look up how to do that, because I'm not typically good at bringing my energy back. Usually it's a go out there, do what you're going to do, and then disperse. It's not a working relationship with the magic I've cast. I cast it, it goes, it does its thing, and then it's on from there. It's like a one shot, it's not a subscription. And so I had to learn how to do that, really, since that's something I've done. Usually I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, so there's just kind of been a discussion of consent and in magic and being like hex positive, not being afraid to curse people, not being afraid to fight for yourself. And well, just let me know in the comments below. Do y'all curse people? Do you not? Or do you shame people for doing it? Because that's totally not cool. I don't really need that kind of support. Like, just be yourself. Just do what you're gonna do, you know? Alright. Thank you, guys. Please subscribe. Please share a video that you enjoy that I've made. Alright. Thank you for joining me here on So Stitch Hex. Bye.